Hello, John aka Chicken Fillets here. Now you know me, I love a bit of Final Fantasy. Now today I wanted to have a look at, well, funnily enough, Final Fantasy. But instead of creating my own list, I've looked at Metacritic and their scores, and I wanted to see, well, do I agree with these Metacritic scores? So yes, with this in mind, we're going to look at the 5 best Final Fantasy games according to Metacritic. Now, yes, there will be some games that I may or may not agree with. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, before we carry on, if you like what you're hearing and seeing on the channel and like hearing a wee Scottish guy talk about JRPGs, well, remember to like, share and subscribe. Right, let's get cracking on. Final Fantasy XII comes in with a Metacritic score of 92. The game was originally released on PlayStation 2 back in 2006, and a remastered version known as the Zodiac Age, which was released on various consoles between 2017 and 2019. Now, Final Fantasy XII is set in the world of Ivalice, where there is an ongoing war between two nations. And in this, we follow Van and his companions as they take part in the war against the Arcadian Empire. Now, Final Fantasy XII took a turn away from its traditional turn-based combat style to the Gambit system. Now, the best way to describe this is linking it to MMO-style combat. Now, this JRPG was critically acclaimed and was a commercial success. But what about the Metacritic rating, and do I agree with this? Well, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that Final Fantasy XII is one of my least favourite Final Fantasy games, so unfortunately for me, this does not match the Metacritic rating for me. I personally could not connect with these characters, and I really struggled with the story. And I have mentioned before that I cannot connect with this game. I have tried so many times. I've played the PlayStation 2 version, I've tried the Zodiac edition on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, and it's just never connected. But I do understand why it has this rating. But, as I said, I don't agree with it.
I'm Captain Bosch von Ronsenberg of Dalmasca!
Final Fantasy VI, which comes in with a Metacritic score of 92. Now, this critically acclaimed JRPG was released originally back on the SNES back in 1994, and since then it's had various re-releases, ports, etc. throughout the years. Now, many out there will agree that this could be seen as one of the greatest Final Fantasy titles ever made. Now, we follow Terra and her companions in this world where magic has disappeared, but the Empire is looking to take it back, and this Final Fantasy has one of the most iconic villains in the series, known as Kefka. This Final Fantasy has the classic ATB turn-based combat system as well, which never gets old. Now, do I agree with the Metacritic score? Well, this one, yes, I totally agree with this. Now, with Final Fantasy VI, I did not have the nostalgia with this because I did not grow up with this game. I got into this game later on in life. I played the PlayStation 1 version download on a PS Vita, and I loved my time with the game. And I understood straight away why this is such an iconic title, so yes, this definitely deserves the Metacritic score that it has received. Final Fantasy X, coming in with a Metacritic score once again of 92. This JRPG was released on the PlayStation 2 all the way back in 2002, and it has had an HD remaster which was released in 2013 and has had various re-releases up until 2019. Now, Final Fantasy X is set in the world of Spira, and it follows a young blitzball player known as Tidus, or Tidus, however it's pronounced, who helps Yuna on her pilgrimage to get Aeons to defeat Sin. Now, this entry into Final Fantasy, well, the combat system was slightly different from what it had been in the previous entry, so it came away from the ATB system, and you could now see whose turn it was next. Also, you were able to switch out characters in battle, and when you played as Yuna, you were able to bring on your summons, Aeons, and they will actually be able to be controlled by the player. So do I agree with this Metacritic score? Absolutely. Well, if you asked me when I was younger, I would have told you no way, because if you know the history of the channel and myself, well, I wasn't keen on Final Fantasy X when it first came out because it didn't have the world map, blah blah blah. Yes, we know the story by now, but I absolutely love Final Fantasy X. The story is spectacular. The first Final Fantasy game to be in 3D, amazing. The music is fantastic. It definitely deserves this score. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the critically acclaimed second entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, and it was released on the PlayStation 5 in the year 2024. Yes, it is this year. Now in this entry we follow Cloud and the party explore the world of Gaia, following the footsteps of the original Final Fantasy VII. However, there's obviously twists and turns compared to the original, similar to the likes of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everything has been improved here compared to Remake, and it still has the fantastic hybrid combat system, which has been improved upon as well. Now bear in mind this is a newly released title, so the Metacritic score could change in the future. However, I absolutely agree with the score here. My time with it so far, as I've not completed the game as of time of recording, I have had an absolute blast with it. I have enjoyed the characterizations with the likes of Kate Sith, likes of Red 13, and seeing Zack Fair. Everything is coming together and I absolutely love this title. So yes, this is definitely worth the score it got on Metacritic. Now before we get to the highest scored Final Fantasy game on Metacritic, let's have a look at some honourable mentions that just missed the mark. The original Final Fantasy VII coming in with a Metacritic score of 92, and in this we follow Cloud and his companions across the world of Gaia in the search of defeating Sephiroth. This PlayStation 1 classic is actually my all-time favourite JRPG and my favourite game in general. It is a fantastic game with everything going for it. Do I agree with the Metacritic score? You know what, I honestly thought this was going to score higher, but I can understand why it got this score, so I'll give it a yes. Final Fantasy VIII, the PS1 JRPG classic, which was released originally back in 1999, and it's had a remastered version released on various consoles. Now this is probably one of the most controversial Final Fantasies released, down to the dynamic leveling system, the draw system, and its angsty protagonist Squall Leonhardt. Now I really do love Final Fantasy VIII. It is my second favourite Final Fantasy, and well, I was kind of surprised by the Metacritic score. I honestly thought this was going to have a lower score than it did, so I am happy with the scoring that it got. Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, comes in with a Metacritic of 89. Now this portion of the game is set in Midgar alone and follows Cloud, Barret, Aerith and Tifa. This was the introduction of the fantastic hybrid combat system and has made Midgar into a fully realised metropolis. Now the Metacritic score with this, I find quite funny that Final Fantasy VIII has scored a little higher than this entry. I can understand why a lot of people did not connect with Final Fantasy VII Remake due to some changes to the story. However, I really do love this game. I know I say that a lot with Final Fantasy games, but hey ho. Now with this all out the way, let's see what the number one Final Fantasy is according to Metacritic.
Nailed it, I know, thank you. Moving on.
Final Fantasy IX, coming in with a Metacritic score of 94, which is the best Final Fantasy, according to Metacritic. This beloved entry in the Final Fantasy series follows Zidane, Garnet, and a whole plethora of fantastically written characters, and this is the swan song of Hironobu Sakaguchi as a writer for Final Fantasy. This entry in the series is seen as a complete throwback to the original Final Fantasy with its fantasy-based setting compared to Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, which was based in a more steampunk environment. And with the battle system, it brought back 4 characters which you could use in battle, and it is a joy to play. And this is honestly one of the most gorgeous games which released on the PlayStation 1. And it did release back in the PlayStation 1 all the way back in 2000. Now it has had various re-releases, whether it's on PC, Switch, PlayStation, and this is headed for a rumoured remake. Now, do I agree with this Metacritic rating? Of course I do. Final Fantasy IX holds a special place in my heart. It is my 3rd favourite Final Fantasy. Now, obviously for me, Final Fantasy VII, in my eyes, is the greatest Final Fantasy ever made, but this entry definitely deserves the 94 Metacritic score that it received. So there we have it. Those are the 5 best Final Fantasy games according to Metacritic. What were your thoughts on these scores? Well, let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you like what you're hearing and seeing on this channel, well, please help me grow it by liking, sharing and subscribing. And if you want to be kept up to date with everything Chicken Fillets, well, hit that notification bell. This has been John, aka Chicken Fillets, and until next time, tatty bye!